Welcome to Talk to Brazil with Tom Reaoch, the business connector to business in Brazil. Welcome to Talk to Brazil, the Business Connection, a leading business podcast talking about business in the world. I'm Tom Reaoch, an American known as the King of Networking, and connecting people from my podcast studio in Vinhedo, Brazil. Today's guest is Stacey Webb. She's joining us from Australia. She is an intuitive trauma release mentor, speaker, and multi-award-winning book author. Her book, The Intuitive Detective, has just won 2 awards at the BookFest Awards in Los Angeles. I first interviewed Stacey on my other podcast, Café Networking, in April. So Stacey, you have made some giant steps to success. First, congratulations, but tell us about your journey to here.
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me, Tom. I love chatting with you always, so it's so good to be here tonight. How did I get here? Well, last year I started my own business as an intuitive trauma release mentor, and it really is about supporting people on their healing journey through a somatic lens, using somatic embodiment and intuitive intelligence tools to support and guide people as they release their fear and trauma that is trapped in their body. And as that was all happening, I was in the process of publishing my book. And I ended up doing that. I published it. It was published in April, and that's when I first spoke to you, just as my book got published. And since then, this year, since releasing that book into the world and just allowing that to be birthed has just been such a beautiful journey in its own right. My business itself became a finalist in the Wellbeing and Wellness Awards in the Auspreneur Awards that was here in Australia. And my book itself has won 4 different places in 3 different book awards so far for the part of it being its best memoir and supporting people with their mind, body, spirit and healing journey. So it's just been this beautiful, I want to say beautiful wave, because it's just been this, beautiful releasing of my own fears of myself, going, oh my goodness, I'm excited that people are seeing this book, but also people are seeing my book. So it's this beautiful thing to go, oh, I've won an award, and going, hang on a minute, those imposter syndrome, are starting to come in. No, I wrote this book and I put so much love and blood, sweat and tears in this book, and it's reaping its rewards for its true authenticity of it. And this is the time for me to just continue living in its high vibration. And no, I'm not listening to those imposter thoughts. So that's why I say wave, because it's always a journey.
Well, it is, and it continues. But from what I see, what I've seen and followed you since the first time I interviewed you, and I say that you're a person who took the challenge of a transition, first of all. So to write a book, to try to put down your thoughts in a book is a challenge. To write about what you're writing about might even be a bigger challenge, because the world's full of trauma. What we see every day is trauma of one shape or form. But most of us don't realize, we don't look at what is happening to the person who is within that unless we're a part of it ourselves. We sort of overlook it. And what I've seen specifically, not because of the pandemic, but it has helped in the way that it really shook up the whole world. Corporations and companies now have started to become aware of what we call wellness and well-being. And they're realizing that some of their own workers are traumatized from working. I said, well, how can that be? That so I've been in an accident. Well, it doesn't have to be. But there's trauma there. And now they're facing that of people either not wanting to go back or leaving. And back to the personal point, the persons are still trying to understand how to deal with trauma in any way, shape, or form. And that's all come to the surface. So they'd say, well, this is new. No, it's not new. But people just never talked about it.
Yeah.
And so more people are talking about it. People are talking about it. Companies are talking about it. I'm talking about it. And I think that the timeliness of what you have done also was great.
Oh, thank you. The pandemic did open my eyes more as well. The pandemic was really the stepping stone for me to break away from being a police officer, being a detective, to starting my business as an intuitive trauma release mentor, because I had all these modalities. I got certifications, while I was still being a police officer, in EFT, emotional freedom techniques, in, being a breathwork practitioner, and, doing stuff as a somatic therapist. And I did all of that because I wanted to support the community who I was serving, because they were in various states of trauma when I would be interacting with them through my job of investigating. But as the pandemic sort of came then about, I realised within myself, and again, I guess listening to my intuition as it was unfolding, is that I'm here to make more ripples in the field. And this is now the next part of my journey, is to do this and really allowing that support, because when the pandemics happened, most people then were able to become more aware of it, to at times want to do something about it. And, with that, my business being seen more in that aspect, because my business really is about assisting people through somatic therapy. So we're talking about through the body, a body up approach, and it's different to talk therapy. So it allows people to work on their trauma without actually having to say the story of their trauma. So they're not re-traumatized in those ways. You can tell me the story of if that is supporting you and empowering you, but I'm also concerned and wanting and interested in is to how is your body feeling about that. And that's a very different approach to what talk therapy is. And I think that's why it also resonated with so many people, because it was this beautiful different way of how we can actually work with our trauma.
Well, I see that. I'm looking at your site and I see you do breath work.
Yes.
And I said, well, what exactly is breath work? I would imagine that you're helping people breathe or free up their spirit or oxygenate themselves or reinvigorate themselves. And that's back to the point you just made.
Yeah, it's all about supporting the nervous system. We have this beautiful autonomic nervous system, where we don't have to tell our body to breathe. It will naturally do it. However, when we're experiencing different states of trauma, and our body and our nervous system will go into different states, the fight, flight, freeze or fawn that people most commonly will resonate with those words, there are times when that happens and our body is reacting to trauma that we forget to breathe.
Right.
And so using the breath work it's a beautiful way to be able to regulate our nervous system. Yes, we don't need to tell our body to breathe, but we can also tell our body to breathe. That will actually support our nervous system through those various states of trauma that we may be experiencing at that time. So the fight, flight, freeze or fawn, and be able to regulate our nervous system to get us back into our ventral vagal state, which is the state of where we feel safe within our body. That's the state that we feel, joyous, and we feel happy, and we feel calm, and we feel peaceful. And it's really that homeostasis within our nervous system. And
that could lead to even more success, right?
Definitely, because if you are in a regulated state.
I'm guessing each time you win an award, those awards literally take your breath away.
They do, yeah, they do in a most beautiful, glorious way. And again, as I mentioned, in an imposter syndrome thought coming in of, do you really deserve this, Stacey? That ego coming in, I can guide myself through that breath and allow myself to come back to a regulated state. And I go, is that really true? Do I really not deserve that? No, that's not true. So that's my fear, my ego talking, because I'm going out of my comfort zone to go, here I am, I'm Stacey Webb, and here's my book, The Intuitive Detective, and buy it because I know it will resonate with you, and I'll know you'll get so much impact out of it, and I know it will bring awareness to your intuition and may start you on your own healing journey if you're not already on it. And if you are on it, it will support you. You know, that's really going out of my comfort zone to say that, but I'll do that because I'm now in a regulated state through breath work as one of the modalities I use to be able to do that. So it's so powerful, breath.
Well, as I mentioned, I've been assisting in seeing you doing that, but I think also an award, wherever it comes from, is also a showing very vividly that others have seen the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And to the point of the imposter, what you mentioned, we generally think, well, we don't deserve this, or there's something wrong here, when it's actually right. That is a validation when you do, whether you get the award or not, even just participating in the selection, just being
right.
there, just being called to the table, is invigorating.
It really is. Like, to even go, I'm submitting my booking for this award because I believe it can be amongst all the other beautiful and empowering books in the same category. Just to even be in space with that is just beautiful enough in itself. And to know, like, my book's been out, about 7 months now, and it's won three different awards. 3 different book awards. It's just been amazing. And I just mentioned to you just before we came on to air that I received an email that I'm a finalist in another book awards, where I'll find out in a couple of weeks what happens with that one as they then release out the placings of it. But, again, to go, I'm just a finalist in those book awards is just amazing enough in itself. Like, that gives me on a pure vibrational high. And I just want to, it's beautiful. Yeah.
No, it is. And the reason I invited you today, I had just seen one of your posts that you made after having won the award. And you could just feel the positive energy. You could just feel the happiness. And even that, to me, it even takes my breath away. Say, wow, I talked to her in April, and look what she's done. And that's amazing. And I think not only for me, I'm sure the persons who have your book, the persons you have helped, have that same feeling. And, I can only wish that other people can have the same feelings, and that's what we're talking.
Yeah, definitely. It's, people who've read my book and have reached out to me to, let me know what their thoughts are of it, and, what they loved about it, and, what resonated with them is, that is beautiful enough in itself, because for some of those people, they don't know me.
Besides,
they know, and they
don't
know me from reading the book.
There's 8 billion people. We don't know them.
That's right. But to take that step to reach out to me to say, hey, Stacey, I just read your book and I loved it, and this is what I loved. Like, that is a big, beautiful step in itself. And for them to do that is just absolutely amazing. And that is also, awards aside, that is why I love writing. That is why I share my work, because it's there to be there for others to read it. And if it resonates with them, it resonates with them. And if it doesn't, it's a beautiful awareness of how different so many people of us are in the world, and how we can have differences, and it's amazing in itself. Like, it's just this beautiful connection with people, which is why I wrote and published it in the first place.
No, that's good, because what you say and how you've shown it, it's not just Australia. You're talking to the world.
Yeah. And I love that. How amazing is that? Like, I'm just talking to you and you're in Brazil now. Like, that's just...
And we're talking to the
I
world.
love it.
And we're talking to the world. And that has always invigorated me in what I do. I say, well, I don't know who my audience is. There's somebody out there somewhere that will listen to this. It may not be today, it may be a year from now. I don't know. But again, that feedback that you get has convinced me that we do make a mark on people, always. That can be face-to-face, and what you do in your daily challenges, in your daytime job. You're meeting people constantly.
Yeah.
You started writing your book. Now you've done that. You're speaking. And what I have learned, we make a mark. We don't always get to see or hear about the mark we make.
Exactly right.
In the past, I was always worried about, well, who did I reach? What did they get? What did they get out of it? So that was a part that took a lot of energy to try to figure that out. What I come to find, stop figuring it out. Just keep
That's
doing
right.
it.
Yeah.
Believe that we're making a mark somewhere, and it has to be millions of people. Because we've been
Yes.
driven to know, it's numbers. It's been a numbers game. How many people read it? How many people listen to you? How many whatever? But that's not the important thing, because as you see that in your day job, we can make a mark on one person. We can change one person's life in our day, right?
Definitely. The book aside, even, me when I was being a police officer, and, I know that one interaction that I have with that person doesn't mean that that interaction is affecting that person in their life, but how it really does create those ripples in the fields. I remember when I was younger and having, interaction with police when we had, deaths within the family, and they didn't speak to me, like in terms of, they would have spoken to my mum and all of that at that point in time. And I never had that much interaction, but how I saw those police officers interacting with my family then also made an impact on me. And that's also, it's sometimes not who we're intentionally interacting. There's all these other aspects around it.
Right.
And that also, if we always wanting to figure out who are we going to reach, we're making ourselves small.
Right.
Because if we allow that beautiful surrender to go, allow those ripples to come out, it's just that beautiful expansion. And I know that when it also comes to the book, there'll be people who read my book who will love it, and they'll just note that within themselves. And that's beautiful enough in itself, because they may have a conversation with someone. They don't have to have a conversation with me. They may have a conversation
right.
with someone else about that book,
Right.
or they're on the train with my book and someone sees the cover of my book and then goes, "Ooh, I wonder what that book's about." And just showing it, that's also how this beautiful ripple effect comes out, from not only just publishing a book, but again, as I mentioned, in terms of just a daily interaction of life. So it really is a beautiful thing, life, isn't it?
Well, life goes on. Now, looking forward to 2023, what do you expect to do next year or tomorrow?
I know I've got plans, and I know that, just I've got plans, and just also allowing that things can also happen. But there's definitely, I'd like to publish more books. I'm in the process. I'm hoping by the end of the month, if not at the beginning of December, I am releasing a self-paced course on my website. It's called Foundations of Tapping, inviting EFT into your life, emotional freedom techniques. And it's really about allowing people to understand the basics on how they can use EFT. And there's different types of ways to do it. And I guide them through that, and there's workbooks and stuff. And with that, I'm actually also going to publish that into a book. So that is one thing that I'm going to do. And then I've got another book in the pipeline that I'd love to write and publish that out. I guess once you get the little publishing bug, you kind of keep wanting to do it. But I want it, the stuff that I'm producing, though, I want it to be with intention and attention. I want it to be supportive of what my service is and who I am as a person, and allowing that to be authentic with me. So, that's why I'm publishing those type of stuff, because it's supporting people on their healing journey. And that's what I do. And there's different ways that we can do it. And it's really allowing that beautiful awareness to people to go,
Right.
I might try this and see. And they may use it all the time. They may only use it sometimes. But again, it's a beautiful seed in their bodies to go, all right, I'm really, really upset, but I remember doing this course with Stacey, and let's do some EFT, and realizing how that actually also can regulate our nervous system. So
No, that's good, man. And what you've just said really relates to anybody starting a company. Today we've seen so many startups, people who have an idea like you have, put it in practice, whether in the shape of a book or in the shape of a company or in the shape of anything.
Yep.
The following steps are exactly what you just mentioned. It just doesn't stop on the first step. And the more you believe in what you're doing, the more you'll make other people believe in what you're doing, and the more you learn about what you're doing, and
That's
where the reach is and where the compensation comes back.
Yeah.
And many startups in any company, they sort of stop in their own tracks.
Yeah. And look, and this course, I've wanted to create this course for a while, and I kept putting it aside. Oh no, I've got something else to do. I've got something else to do. But, in my book, I talk about EFT, and I talk about how that helped me, especially doing my work as a detective, and how that not only, helping the community, but how that helped me when I was turning up to traumatic incidents, and how I was feeling traumatized after certain things, and how that actually supported me and my nervous system. And I was realizing, when people were reading my book, they're like, I'd love to learn more about EFT. And I was like, this is why I also need to create this course, because, this is this beautiful extension of who I am. I incorporate and do EFT in my one-on-one sessions and my group sessions, but for some people they may not be ready for that right now, and to know that that's okay to honor that, and that
you
this
weren't
is another
ready when
way.
you started out.
That's right, and so go, okay, if you'd love to learn EFT but you don't want to go to an online group session with me yet, or have a one-on-one session with me yet, this is actually another way that you can still work with me. You can do this self-paced course so you still learn, or you can buy the book when I publish that, and allow that to be another channel, because not everyone wants to do one-on-ones, not everyone wants to be in a group, but some people like to do things and by themselves as this beautiful way of that stillness, silence and solitude as a part of their own way of self-care, and to know that this is another avenue to do that. So
you've come to the point that I defend, that once we realize that it's not about me, and you realize that it's about we, that's another, I would say, personally invigorating step. We need to get beyond our own ego. We need to get beyond our own self-satisfaction and to the point of reaching. And reach in whichever way anybody we reach wants to handle that. And that's what you're doing, just opening up avenues of connection.
Yeah, exactly.
And, everybody's different. Everybody has their own way and shows it in a different way. We are. And one thing I've learned, there are no two people alike in the world, period. They're all different.
Right. Yeah, and everyone's lifestyle is different too. Like, I'm a mum of 4 children. Life gets chaotic, life gets busy, and for someone else, their life may be busy to go, I just, I really want to work myself, but this is the time frame that I have within my day to do it, and it may not align with anything that they want to do in a group setting or something. And know that this is also another way that they can still incorporate this self-care and regulation of their nervous system, and allowing this release of fear and trauma that they may or may not even realize is happening as they're doing it, as this beautiful way of self-care amongst such a chaotic and busy lifestyle.
Right. And which, I don't want to say fortunately or unfortunately, the world just keeps becoming more chaotic. It's not become less. So learning to adapt to the constantly changing world, and the world's just one big place, is something we really need. Otherwise, we all individually get lost in what's happening. And then it's more trauma, it's more depression, it's more sickness.
Yeah, our nervous system is going to get too overwhelmed, and that's when the cup gets too full, and it feels like that you can't function anymore, that you feel like you can't do it anymore, or that's when the burnout happens and the depression happens, and all those different things, because our nervous system's gone, we need a break. And I've tried to tell you many times, and you may have dismissed it and thought, no, I can still do it. I've done that. No, I'm fine. I've got a task and I want to finish it. But sometimes the body will tell you, you need a break.
It shuts down.
Yep. It will let you know eventually if you don't listen. Like intuition, it'll keep coming back until you eventually listen to it.
Well, that's the point. We need to listen to ourselves.
Yes.
And I've spoken with and interviewed other persons, and basically said we need to listen to ourselves. The intuition is telling us, but many times we don't listen.
Yeah.
So to the
Exactly
listening part, where can our listeners find you, Stacey?
Yes, so I am on Instagram. You can find me there at _Stacey Webb. I'm also on Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok now as well, as of a couple of months ago. And you can also find me on my website, www.staceywebb.com.au. And my book, The Intuitive Detective, is available at all major online bookstores. I also am a fan of supporting local businesses. And so if you do have a local bookstore, they will be able to order it in through the distribution that my publisher is through as well. So they'll be able to do that.
Very good. Well, congratulations again. I'm sure we'll be back talking in the future again.
I love it, Tom. Thank you so much.
Look forward, okay? So take care and stay well.
You too. See you later.
And for our listeners, again, it's Stacey Webb, Stacey. The last name, Webb, is Webb. The book, The Intuitive Detective, you'll find that on her site, staceywebb.com.au, or on all major online bookstores. The Intuitive Detective. I'd like to thank our audience and our sponsor, Focus MI Market Intelligence. Focus MI specializes in market research for the Brazilian agricultural market. More about them on their website, www.focusmi.com. Remember, when you talk to Tom, you talk to the world. Goodbye, and thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to Tom Reaoch on Talk to Brazil, the business connector to Brazil.